issues. So it's real talk, real Christians. We're not afraid to talk about the things that some people don't want to talk about, but we're going to hit it from a Christian perspective, and we just going to deal with things. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, keep listening, because you're going to like something that we say.
Right.
So this week, let's just get the party started like always. I want to talk about jealousy in the body of Christ.
Oh boy!
Stop hating. This the stop hating section.
Stop hating.
Yeah, stop hating. So what we want to deal with right now, just envious Christians who covet other people's blessings and fighting for positions in the church and favoritism, all that stuff. So let's run with it. Why is there competition in the church? Talk to me. Why is there competition in the church? Why is it that you got people fighting to be the pastor's favorite, trying to be on all these committees, trying to be his best friend, trying to make sure that everything that happens in the church runs through them? Why you got all this worldly type mindset in the church?
Like you said, it's worldly. People haven't released that when they walk through the doors. They still bringing all of that sinfulness in there.
Right.
So I think that's part of it. They haven't separated the sinful part. They come with somebody else.
Because honestly, I've seen it. I've seen it. I've witnessed it. These people they start treating these pastors kind of like celebrities. It's. They treat them like Michael Jackson or something,
Right.
So I don't understand. I'm gonna put it that way because the Bible tells us that there's no respect of person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Basically, there should be no favoritism in the church, but yet and still, we got this dynamic going on where everybody wants to be the top dude or the highest.
Right next to pastor,
right.
It's one thing to honor the leader of your church,
and you should.
You should honor him, but to put him above anything, don't put him on that scale because he will fall, and then when he falls, like a lot of these pastors do, and people just, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened.
Right.
The whole fighting over position and title, I don't understand it either. At the end of the day, all of us should be discipling. At the end of the day, all of us should be used.
Exactly.
But people are fighting. Like we were saying last week, Deacon Johnson, he's the only one that can count the money. Well,
right.
I
can't.
Well, I don't know. Some people can't be trusted, so maybe
that's
he
another
is
show. That's a whole nother show.
Maybe he is.
Well, sticky fingers in that offering plate. We need to get it down.
We're going to tackle on that too.
Yeah.
Stop stealing from the church.
It
ain't funny no more.
They have to understand that everybody is not called to do certain work. If you're mad at the culinary ministry for not letting you in there, you need to be mad at your family because they the ones probably told them not to let you in there.
Right. Because if you can't cook, then why are you in the kitchen anyway? You know what I mean?
That jealous bone will have you looking like boo-boo the fool.
Right.
Yeah. So you and here's another piece of this. This the one that really gets me. And I would never name names because I just don't think it's appropriate. But if I'm sitting in a room full of people and a room full of pastors and ministers, and all they talking about is how many members they got.
Oh,
it burns me up where these dudes be focused completely on how many seats they got filled.
Right.
It's like, what is your purpose, man? What are you actually here doing? You know what I mean? Because you can't be about the Lord. You can't be about Christ if all you focused on is how many people I got in my church. You know what I mean?
Should be greater than that.
It's about the souls, right? And so if it's about the people being saved, it's about the souls being saved. Then why the only thing you sit around talking about? Oh, Doc, I got 1,500. Doc, I got 5,000. How many people you got this week? You let a pastor say he got 10 people and watch how he get treated.
Exactly.
Stop saying Doc.
Right, stop saying, yeah.
Can we put that out there?
Can we retire? Can we retire?
I'm not a doctor. You're not a doctor.
You ain't got no degree.
Stop saying Doc. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
It's like,
because I've learned it so well that it's a lot of people in these big numbered churches, and they ain't learning a thing.
Right.
They not learning anything.
Oh, it's sensationalism, baby. It's about where you go. Well, I go to AME Baptist Coronary on the corner of 5th.
We got laser lights and fog smoke.
What y'all got?
Somebody gonna be tapping it.
We got a tambourine and a drum. And we getting it in.
Exactly.
So, but it's just one of those things. I'm like, it's like this fleshly mentality that people have, and it invades the body of Christ in all seriousness, and then we wonder why we have so many problems in the church itself. It's because you letting this type of stuff go on in the church. We shouldn't be focused on stuff like that. You know what I mean? Nobody should be fighting over to be the pastor's best friend. That's just ridiculous. Like he Jesus or something. I didn't go to any church where Jesus was actually up there preaching.
Right.
Just some guy that God is using, and then we put him on a pedestal. And I mean, let's be real. People put these men on pedestals, and then they start actually believing who we make them out to be.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
You know, like they healing you. I didn't heard people say, "Well, you know, I know you made it through that, bro, and it's because I prayed for you."
Oh yeah.
Because you, come on now. As if you didn't pray, something wouldn't have happened. You created a breakthrough.
Right.
Excuse me.
Right.
What?
You know,
when did that happen?
Yeah.
I didn't know it was a Jesus Jr. I never met Jesus Jr. I don't know who he is. I mean, hopefully, I don't think Jesus had any children.
These pastors really think, and from a personal standpoint, and something that I've seen and witnessed, these pastors really think that because of them,
yeah,
you had a breakthrough. Because of them, your business flourished. Oh, because I prayed over it. Like, excuse me?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm pretty sure it's a
not
higher
all have
power
access?
that did that. Exactly.
Do we not all have access? That's my question.
And you got to seek God to make sure that it's really a calling. Or see, there's a difference between a want and a calling. The people that are preaching don't want to. Meaning, like, because they know what comes with that.
They got called to it. So
They
you
got called
don't
to
sign up for some of that stuff.
Right.
It's a lot of stuff that comes
And
with it.
it comes with it. I mean, so many people out there trying to be pastors, but you got to really understand. I mean, that's not an easy calling. It's not an easy job. Like, you're willing to get up at 3, 4 in the morning when somebody having a domestic issue, or when somebody parents died. Are you willing to do a funeral for somebody that you don't even know?
And check this out, that you ain't gonna get paid to do the funeral.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Come on, somebody.
Right. And then if you preach in heaven and hell, and you know somebody had a hellish life, and they did a lot of things in their life, are you gonna, where's your stance gonna be? Are you gonna say, I'm not gonna do it? Are you gonna tell that family, okay, they're in a better place? Like, it's not an easy calling.
Right.
Like,
So the jealousy
has to
is
stop.
ridiculous,
Oh,
and that further proves the point that being jealous over somebody for what they have is just ridiculous. You know, coveting and envying somebody for the blessing that they have, to me, is just crazy.
Don't drive yourself crazy. What the Joneses
trying to chase after what somebody else got. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But you know what? You mentioned something else in the course of your conversation, and it was something else that I was definitely wanting to talk about today. And it's a serious issue, and that's domestic violence in the body of Christ. You know, I was actually reading an article on that, and I'm finding my notes on that. But I was reading an article on it, and the gentleman is a professor at Regent University, and he was saying there's an alarming number of cases where there's domestic violence in Christian households.
Oh yeah.
I mean, these brothers are laying hands in the wrong way.
Right.
Literally, and they blaming or not blaming, but using in a lot of cases the scripture to justify their actions, because we all know that there's a structure to a house, and and we all believe that the word indicates that there's a structure to be had, but it's not one where there should be abuse. You know,
exactly.
And what I saw and what alarmed me was that a lot of pastors don't even want to talk about domestic violence with their congregations.
And it's sad.
Yeah, it's sad. It was something like 65% of the pastors that participated in a study called "I Believe You." It was about sexual violence in church, and it was called "I Believe You," but it incorporated domestic violence. 65% of the pastors that they interviewed viewed domestic violence as something that they did not want to talk about, and most of them only talked about it, according to this survey, maybe once a year, and some didn't talk about it at all. You know, it was crazy. And it's like, well, if you realize that this is happening, and you know that it's happening, and it's something that we should be addressing, why isn't the body of Christ doing more about it? You know, why we push it to the side, and why do we act like things like this don't occur? You know, there are women being abused, there are children being abused, and then there's men being abused too. Because I mean, a lot of dudes will make fun of this, but it's an alarming number of men who've been abused and get smacked around as well. You know, and sometimes it's even worse as a man, because they are really afraid to talk about it, because they're afraid of how they're going to look in front of other men. feel emasculated and whatnot. But you know, when I read this, I was like, why doesn't anybody want to talk about it? Is it that taboo that nobody wants to talk about it? It's a few things in the body that we just won't go to that line, and we won't meet the need where it actually needs to be met, and we hide behind, you know, spirituality, and we hide behind the fact that, you know, we tell people to just pray about it. The answer to everything, and I never disagree with prayer. Prayer actually works, but it's what do you do after that, though?
Right.
You know, what do you say to a woman whose, you know, whose pastor may be, whose husband rather is the pastor of the church, and he's putting his hands on her? Where's the accountability? You know, where's the justification for that? And it was just one of those things. So I mean, have you guys ever heard of anything like that or experienced anything like that?
Well, I know I read an article where this woman was being abused, and she went to her pastor,
Mm-hmm.
and her pastor was like going to the Bible, and he was like, you know, well, maybe you should be more submissive. So she went home, did that. 3 days later, she's dead. So it's like, how can you go to your church and then that happens? I think for a lot of people it's like embarrassment, maybe. They don't want to go, because I mean your faith in the church is supposed to be your spiritual trauma healing center. So
Absolutely.
if you can't go and get it there, then where do you go?
Yeah, and to like it's like we don't want to, anything that we don't want to deal with, we just tell people to pray about it, and then we hope for the best for them. Like,
Right.
why would you send a woman home that has told you she was getting abused and say you need to be more submissive?
That's crazy.
Because abuse is not domestic abuse is not about submission.
Right.
That's a power trip. The
Yeah.
person is hungry for power. So the reason that they're doing that is because they want to be in a position of power
Right.
over this other person. So you actually helping the abuser do his thing by sending them home.
Do more stuff. Yeah.
Should we be calling the cops on these preachers?
Yeah.
Should we be calling the cops on these
That right there
brothers
is a
and
crime.
people in the church?
Yeah.
But why won't we? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
That
Why
was,
not?
that
I
was
think-
basically the crime.
Yeah. I think people just, like you said, they're scared. They're afraid to address the issue.
Yeah.
Yes, if a member of your church tell you that they've been abused, it is your duty. It is your duty to call the police and try to get them out of that situation.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I know that Russ Pond put out a movie called The Under Shepherd.
Mhm.
And you saw that movie?
Yes.
And he was just talking about the abuses in the church. And one of the issues was that Melinda Williams, who played the pastor's wife,
Mm-hmm.
she struggled with her weight because her pastor was just verbally abusive, and she wasn't. She was small. You know Melinda Williams. She's small, but she was exercise. I mean, she almost killed herself.
She became a bulimic too.
Yeah, and she became bulimic, and she was throwing up. It was one episode where I think he came in the basement, and she was on a bike for hours.
With a
Trying
bag.
to get
With a
small.
bag.
A bag of mama.
Trying to get small, and it has to be addressed. People can't keep sweeping stuff under the rug. Pastors need to. That's one thing I want more pastors to do: address real life issues.
Real
I
life
think
issues, absolutely.
that this prosperity gospel idea has taken over, and God can
the
bless
name and
you.
claim it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
name
I
and
love
that.
claim it. God can bless you and all that.
Give me an El Dorado this year.
Right.
In Jesus' name.
Everything,
claiming
everything
it.
should start and end in prayer, but you got to have works with it. Faith without works is dead. If you're not, get her out of that situation. And pastors need to step down. You can't be hitting your wife and you preaching. Like,
Yeah.
what is that?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
How
it.
can you as a man even go up there and do that?
Right.
Right.
You up there preaching something you're doing.
And there's people that know, and there's people that know
Right.
about it and don't. Oh, that's past. I'm not going to say anything.
Well, it goes back to what we said at the top of the hour.
Right.
That we put these men on pedestals, and then we don't allow for them to be accountable because people actually start to believe that these men or women are the reason why things are happening in their life.
And
We
it's-
take the focus off of God and we put it on this man or woman,
That's right.
and then we protect them at all costs. Let somebody put their hands on one of my kids.
Oh yeah.
That's right.
You know
Oh,
what I'm
it's on.
saying?
It's
yeah,
on.
it's a whole nother different show.
See, and that's the thing. Like people think they so saved that when you get in that situation, I have about five. I have 5 nieces.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I have 2 sons.
Mm-hmm.
That's one right there. It starts with them.
Right.
But to my nieces, let me find out a dude that's putting their hands on my sister or my nieces. Oh,
Yeah.
it's a problem. You can, all bets are off.
Oh, I'm still saved.
I'm not praying for
I'm
that
still
person.
saved, but
Yeah,
I'm gonna pray after I deal with you.
I posted a picture a while back. I don't know if you probably, I don't know if you saw it, but you may have saw it that said, yeah, I'm saved, but you can still catch these hands.
That's it, man.
That's true, and that's true. And even outside of church, I remember real quick, my wife, she does a lot of community stuff, and with a police officer, she talked to a woman police officer who was getting abused by her husband. And she was asking, well, I'm the police, who do I call? And I'm getting physically abused.
Jeez.
And it's like, well, I can't call people because I'm embarrassed, and that goes back with the church.
The embarrassment
People
factor.
are embarrassed.
Yeah,
And that's
you
just
can't be
crazy.
ashamed. So I mean, we talked about these guys. We talked about people putting them up too high and edifying them like they God or whatnot. When is it time for somebody to step down? And I know that's a scary thought, but what does a pastor have to do to be asked to take a seat?
The thing is,
I'll let her go first.
is
Yeah, she jumped right
anybody
into it.
gonna-
She's like, you know what?
Will people, like, all right, if they won't step down, they know they're wrong, they're doing something, they won't
Right.
step down. When is it time for the congregation of the people to say, okay, look, man, you know you're wrong.
It's that whole complex, right?
Yeah.
I got you up so
It's
high,
like
I don't know what to do.
scared.
Yeah.
It's like
So-
they'll talk about it all day long.
Oh,
gossip,
you know,
gossip,
the
gossip,
pews are
and
full
do
of
it.
gossip.
What?
Mhm.
But they won't confront that person face
Right.
to face, head on. They'll just
Yeah.
keep letting them do it. And so, well, eventually somebody's going to do it.
It's got to be
But
something.
how
It's got to be an
long?
answer, right? If he's stealing from the church,
Right.
if you got a pastor that's stealing from the church, you got a pastor that's sleeping around, having babies in the church. You got a pastor that's to quote a friend of ours, freak balling and doing all this other kind of stuff. Right? If he out booty dangling with little boys, when do you say, all right, it's time for you to take a seat?
Right.
You might have 2 or 3 that trickle off and decide that they're not going.
Right.
But then, I'm like, this is a person. Do we forgive him? Do we pray for him? Yes. So please don't hit us up on none of these social media saying that we should turn our backs on. I'm not saying that, but
Right.
if somebody is doing wrong and they in that position,
Yeah.
you should take a personal sabbatical. In my opinion, I need to go get myself together. I was watching, there's a pastor who, had an issue with little boys, and I recently watched a clip from a service where he's still addressing this as though he's the victim. He's still, we're not saying anything, name wise, but tight shirts are involved, so you might know who it is. But
In the mirror. Cut
tight
that
shirts.
out.
But he's still acting as though he was the person that was done wrong. When you molested, use the right word for it, all these young boys.
Right.
But you got the nerve to still, in 2016, I think this was a couple of years back now, and countless other times that we may not even know about, in 2016, you still touting the whole victim page? Like, that's you?
And he got people that's standing behind him. I mean,
Right.
How can you
At
stand
the-
behind a person
right.
like that?
At the point that you're not practicing what you're preaching, you got to step down. If it's compromising, I read an incredible story years ago about, and this is just a small feat, about a pastor who he just had an argument with his wife.
Mm-hmm.
Was about to go preach. He got up on the mic and said, "I need to talk to my wife." We had an argument. He didn't put all the information
details and
out,
whatnot out
but
there.
he
Right.
just said, "I cannot preach to y'all right now in the state from what I just know that just happened." He grabbed his wife.
Whoever
they
that
went
dude
out.
is, I respect him. I
Right.
ain't even got to know him.
Mad pastor.
That's accountability.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
I
and
can't
just
sit here and be
being-
fake
yeah.
in front of y'all.
And just being real with yourself. I mean, there are pastors that we know, we don't have to say their names. There are pastors that we know that's sleeping around with the women and they're caught. And
Right.
it's like,
Man, if half the children choir look like you, it's a problem.
right. It's a problem. And we
I'm
can,
gonna just put that on.
yeah, and we can
You know
talk
what I mean?
forgiveness.
The youth group should not look like your children.
Right. And we can talk forgiveness, and that's good. We'll forgive you and all that. But at some point, you have to be a man. You have to be responsible enough
Own
to
up to
say,
it. Or woman.
you know what, I messed
Woman up,
up.
man up.
I messed up. I'm sorry. Y'all forgive me. Let me take a seat. Let me sit down.
Right.
You know, I need to take a sabbatical. I have to.
Do something.
That's showing people, and more people will respect the church when they see stuff like that.
Right. The transparency, the authenticity.
Yeah.
It's all about being real.
When
man.
you're on TV shows, and your wife on TV shows, and you done did what what you did out there, and people know. Every
Right.
time I get a call about a certain pastor from Baltimore, I don't need to say his name because you probably know his name.
Everybody knows.
And you know, this person who they have a challenge with church people and going to church because every time I see him, he involved in some mess. And you know, how do I defend that and help that? You know, all I can tell him is, you got to, you know, experience it for yourself. Don't worry about somebody else's walk.
But I mean, the truth of the matter is, at the end of the day, and we're about to go into a break. But the truth of the matter is, at the end of the day, you know, you can't allow people to dictate your relationship with God, and that's really what happens. I think it was Bryant posted earlier this week about if you got a problem, if the reason, I'm paraphrasing of course, but if the reason that you stop going to church is because of somebody in the church, then you was never there for God in the first place. So, you know, we do have to remember that, you know, that's the case. So even in all this jealousy, this coveting, and all this competition and whatnot, the domestic abuse and all this other stuff, there just needs to be accountability. If we're real and we're transparent and we really tell people what's going on and we say, look, I'm weak, I'm broken, you know, I need help, I can't do this by myself. If that's the angle that we use, more people will believe and more people will come. I really believe that, because don't nobody want to deal with no fake, phony preaching. Period. You know what I mean? So, but we about to go into a break. You know, if you're out there listening, you can follow us on Street Legal Radio, www.streetlegalradio.com. Download the Street Legal app, and we're actually streaming live on Ustream as well. Just look